Lead and Feel. In my first interview episode, I invited Ilaria Mangiardi, a beautiful soul and a heartful person who keeps on inspiring me with how she paves her life pathway, listens to her heart while being so authentic and so creative. You can't even imagine. We speak about her journey to authenticity, her creative writing workshops, anxieties, nice and not so nice emotions, and healthy boundaries. It was also my first recording with the new software, so apologies up front if the sound is not super perfect. I will keep on mastering it. Thanks for your patience, and I hope you will enjoy it as much as I did.
And welcome you super nice and warm to my podcast. Super great that you found time to have a lovely conversation with you. And I hope it's a great, meaningful conversation for you, for me, and for our listeners. So, a very cliche, but you can make it not cliche or cliche, depending what you like. Who is Ilaria? What should we know about her?
Oh my God. Thank you, Maggie, first of all, for having me here. I'm super excited to be here. And I'm super happy to have a heart-to-heart conversation with you. I mean, we've had many in the past. So I will just pretend that we are not recording and we are just having another of our very famous heart-to-heart conversations. Exactly. So, okay, $1 million question. Who is Ilaria? Ilaria, or Ila, as you prefer, is, and it's always like, I don't know, it makes me laugh out loud every time that I try to speak in third person, but I will pretend that, it's perfectly fine. Ilaria is
a... Don't you speak to yourself sometimes?
Oh.
You speak to yourself sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but then when I have to speak about myself with others, then I don't know, it always feels weird saying it in third person. But I will try.
Let's feel weird together.
Yes, let's embrace the awkwardness. Okay, so Ilaria is definitely an empathetic person. Sometimes a little bit too much, and she's a very high sensitive person, and she's trying her best to also set up some healthy boundaries and to find the balance between being a high sensitive person and at the same time having like very healthy boundaries set for herself, for her sanity, for her mental health. She is definitely a creative spirit. So she doesn't really function when she's in environments where, there is no creativity at all, or where there is a lot of ego involved. I think that's me in a nutshell. Of course, we are so many different things at the same time. We can, I am the daughter, I am the girlfriend, I am the colleague, I am the creative entrepreneur, the singer, the poet, the writer. I can be so many things at once. But if you ask me who is Ilaria, like from a more, let's say, emotional perspective, I would say, that I'm made of water and feelings.
Fantastic, right? I think I saw some time ago like a meme that if people are made of water, is that we are a cucumber with a lot of emotions and traumas and anxieties, right? So I'm like, okay, yes, it's indeed. Talk to me.
Definitely. And also like when we think about, spirituality or like moon phases or, especially when we talk about the moon, and people sometimes because I am a fan of the moon, and people sometimes ask me like, why do you care so much about, if we have like full moon right now or a new moon, and I'm like, guys, like we are made of water, right? So of course, if the moon, has an impact on tides, for instance, why should it have an impact on us? So definitely.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's really great. Yeah. Indeed. Or even music, right? Music also vibrates to the body, right?
Definitely.
The water cells, etc.
Definitely. We live in a vibrational universe, so it's all about, vibrations and energy with each other.
Yeah, an exchange. Yes, absolutely. Oh, lovely. So wow, beautiful introduction. I already kind of noted in my head, ego, healthy boundaries, hypersensitivity. Like, whoa. I'm already getting so excited to get a little bit deeper in those areas. So you told me about Ilaria, who is Ilaria, and then maybe, when you talk about your hypersensitivity or empathic, like maybe a small introduction, how you're feeling right now at this moment, like what's out there present.
Wow. Also very interesting question because, I think that, and I know that maybe I'm generalizing, but I think I can speak for the majority of people right now. I mean, since 2020, I think it's been a roller coaster of emotions. So one day you are perfectly fine and you're feeling so energetic and you're like, I'm gonna, like rock the world. And you're feeling super positive as well. And then maybe the next day, at least that's how it works for me. Maybe you have something that triggers you, and all it takes is that one trigger to basically realize, oh my God, what I had yesterday was basically a sandcastle. Then it just collapsed.
So solid, you said, like, come on.
Exactly. And then the tides and the moon and the water came and it just collapsed. No, but so it really depends on the day, I have to say. But overall, I mean, I cannot complain. So I'm doing really well. I think I'm at a place and space right now where I am really trying my best to always stay in that balanced zone as much as possible. So as I said before, sometimes, of course, it's really difficult, and struggling. I always struggle. I've always been struggling with anxiety for all my life. But I think that I'm in a safer space, let's say, where I know, that there are some tools that I can use, for instance, to make sure that I don't make my sandcastle collapse, and maybe I can build some more solid and robust foundations. But I would say that especially this month, so February is looking, I would say, promising.
Wow, super. Yeah, I think what I admired you at the time, Ilaria, I mean, I've always admired you, but that's why you're also here, because I'm so very excited and so curious to get a little bit deeper into some areas, that you've been pretty open about the anxieties, your struggles, and then I know that probably your therapy is through writing and sharing those things, and maybe I'm just assuming. But then I think it's perfect bridge to the whole authenticity that I'm trying to really, really discover and then see through people, etc. So then, how was your journey to really be authentic to yourself or to the others? And how was it, or is it always easy or not? Tell me something about that aspect.
Yeah, funny enough, I mean, if I have to really go down memory lane, like if I have to think about, when I was a little kid, I was extremely shy to the point that, no matter what you said to me, I would always blush. So even, like for instance, I remember at school, elementary school, I was a very good student, but for instance, when the teacher would ask us like, hey, what do you think about this topic? Do you want to share your opinion? And I really wanted to raise my hand, but I couldn't find the courage. And then of course, there was always the other student who was a little bit more, extroverted, who would raise his or her hand and they would just say what I wanted to say. And then I would think, damn it, maybe I didn't think damn it when I was 6 years old, but something like that, like, oh, why? But, and then, also when I was a teenager, I always felt like these like emotions and feelings that I was feeling were, too much, always too much. And I think especially for women, it's something that we hear quite a lot, like, oh, you're too much, and we are like, yeah, maybe you are too little. I don't know. That's, the answer that I would give right now. But back then, I always felt like, oh my God, maybe, like I didn't feel entitled to share my feelings or emotions because I felt, I don't know, misunderstood, or maybe I would see other people react in different ways. And then I think that, it was not like a breakthrough moment, because I think that it's always a gradual process. So it's not like, okay, overnight success, I'm confident now. No, definitely not. But when I relocated to Amsterdam years ago, and like I started really following my passions and like trying to really also find my identity and being like super open-minded, which is something that I always had this sense of guilt and judgment over myself. And since I've been living here in Amsterdam, I felt like, okay, every year a little bit more I became open, and also I developed some kind of forgiveness also towards myself. So but definitely, if we have to think of 2020, that was a really big moment for me to really embrace my authenticity and to really be vocal about how I felt and how, about my values, to stand up for my values. So I, of course, 2020, has been like, it was a shit show for definitely, I would say, everyone. So I think I can speak for everyone, but I always try to see the silver lining in things. So for me personally, it really gave me the courage that I needed to say, okay, enough, or to say no more often, or to realize that, instead of saying yes when I wanted to say no, I should have just said yes, and, fuck what other people say or think. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast, Maggie?
Yes, sure.
Because I swear quite a lot.
I feel like that's the way to express. So like, I know
Exactly.
For those words to exist, so I know. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what 2020 taught me, and that's what I've been, keeping as a memory, but also as a reminder for 2021 and hopefully onwards.
Yes. Wow. And how was the whole journey then? Like you said, it's not always easy, or what? Maybe let me rewind from the very start to start with. So, what was actually authenticity to you over those years? Or was it kind of a journey to really get deep to the core? Or was it something to just feel more relaxed and at ease with what you feel or what you do, going with the flow? Because I think the definitions can vary from, A to Z.
Yeah. I think I was always, I've always been authentic to myself. Like, for instance, I would always, as you mentioned, like use writing or music in my spare time, in my me time, let's say, to really go deep and really find a little bit more about myself. But I was really somehow ashamed or too shy to share it with other people. So now, like, what has changed, if I have to compare it to when I was a kid or when I was a teenager, is that now I am, basically embracing it and I am sharing it with others, and with the awareness that if someone really clicks with it, then they will show up and they will reshare it, what they are feeling with me. So that's something that I didn't have before. I always thought that I had to keep it to myself, my authenticity. And I've always been a people pleaser as well. So that's something that, I've been working on, and I'm not there yet, but definitely, again, if I have to compare it to before, I think that especially these last 2 years really taught me how to stand up for myself and to just like realize that I am like this, and it's okay if people don't like you. I mean, I recently stumbled upon this quote that said, tea doesn't care if people likes it or not. I mean, there is coffee and tea, right? So some people prefer coffee, some people prefer tea. I mean, it's so simple, but tea doesn't get mad if you prefer coffee. It's just like two completely different things. So we also have to really try to think that way about ourselves. It's okay to not be liked by everyone. So yes to authenticity in this way, I would say.
Wow, that's amazing. Yes, I think the other time when I was preparing for our interview, for our talk, and the other episodes I've been recording, is that like once you let go of those judgments that everyone has to follow you or everyone has to like you, then at least at some point, whoever stays or whoever is left is actually those people who, in the end, will pay off to have. Not about having interest or having some calculations who you have to be with or hang out with, but in the end, the small tribe is just being created, right? Once you're just really yourself and there's no other layers, and people just get attracted to this, person who really is who she or he is fully himself. So and then I call it the bullshit is cut out, and then who needs to stay stays, and then probably the people who who you mean to them a lot, or who they mean a lot to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think tribe is like such a great word to express that. And also too, you see it also in the little things. For instance, if someone subscribes to your newsletter and then after a while they unsubscribe, I mean, let's try not to take it personal. It probably means it's for the best, right? Like that person was not really aligned with what we intended to share with our community. So it's also about, in these like little things as little reminders to not really see them or put us in a defensive mode, but be open and, accept it as it is. Of course, easier said than done, but we can work on it.
Absolutely, sure. Yeah, so I think it's a great way to jump into your project, right? You mentioned your newsletter and your project. So what is or who is within the ILA project? I don't know if you can call it, a baby concept or a project already up and running idea.
Yeah.
Something more about it.
Yeah, I like the word project, I would say. Passion project, maybe even better. It started in May 2020. So before then, I taught a couple of creative writing workshops face-to-face. And then I thought, everybody was using Zoom and everybody was, of course, moving from the face-to-face environment to the online environment even more than before for the reasons that we all know. But I thought, why not trying, to have the same concept, but in an online safe environment and to have it on a regular basis. So I thought to organize and teach free writing workshops on a monthly basis. And initially, of course, it was basically only friends and family and, a few maybe like friends of friends via word of mouth. And then it soon became something bigger than that, something that I didn't really expect. And I received a lot of positive feedback, which made me, it made me think, okay, it's something that it's really needed. So what I usually do is to use creative writing and free writing as a self-development tool to really tap into our world and to gain perspective, clarity, and awareness through writing. So I don't like to see myself as the teacher or the expert, but I prefer to see myself as the guide who can give, a few writing prompts or a few how can I say it? Like maybe some direction for people to fully embrace or discover also writing for the first time as a self-development tool, because it's not that everybody uses it the same way. So I think that now we are something like 15 workshops later. It's crazy to think that it's still going on. It's free or donation based workshop format, and hopefully in 2021 I will also expand or extend the offers and services that I thought of. But so far, so good. Definitely. It's been a ride.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, I remember you inviting me and I finally managed to attend your workshop last week. And how was it for you? Because I was just, one of the participants. But then for me, I almost cried so many times already because, how vulnerable you've been, facilitating this beautiful workshop, and how many people were also, very daring to share what they wrote from their heart. Sometimes it was just very, very deep words or just basically stories. So how is it for you to hold that space? Those people, strangers, also probably strangers to you online. How is it to facilitate this big, beautiful wave of any emotion, I would suppose.
Yeah, I think it's, by learning, of course, on like how to do it the best way possible. Because I remember the first 2-3 workshops, I didn't have, like, it happened that, especially in the English workshop. So I have both workshops in Italian, which is my native language, but also in English for all international people. So especially in the English ones, I didn't have anyone, there always like came that awkward moment at the end, like, oh guys, if you feel like sharing, please feel free to do so. This is a safe space. But then I had radio silence, and then I was like, okay, so how do you handle that? How do you improv? But then I also realized that maybe it was also something that it was related to my way of communicating that, and so I try to prepare for that moment instead of not mentioning until the very end. So, I would say it maybe at the very beginning so that people would also, expect that. But at the same time, reassure them that if they don't feel like sharing, that's perfectly fine, because the objective, the goal of the workshops basically is to write for yourself mainly, So, and then if you feel like sharing it because maybe you want to let it go, or maybe you want to share it because you feel like it's going to help someone who's struggling with the same thing, then it's fine, it's okay. But the main goal is to do it for yourself as a self-development tool. So then, I always try to also to not judge. They're not there to be judged or to hear someone saying like, oh, maybe you should have, started with this verb instead of that, adjective or whatever. But I just always try to focus on what resonated with me when they share it. And then the only comment that I give is something positive about what, happened to me, to my body, to my feelings when they were reading what they wrote. So, and I have to say also the community, the people who participate, I mean, they are all lovely people, and they always, leave some words of encouragement in the chat, or maybe like afterwards as well. So I think that, who you are, you attract. So if you want to create a safe space for feelings and emotions, you are going to attract also the people who are perfectly fine with sharing these emotions. So, or at least that's my hope.
Yeah, or the reason why they came, right? They joined because they're craving so much.
Oh, so yeah, definitely.
Maybe not so often, or at least that's my world dream, to have the space, so welcome in any situation. But of course, it takes time or courage, or indeed not. You don't have to share with anyone, around your environment. But a beautiful space like this, same people with the same objective. Okay, I just want to speak my heart out. Maybe first on the paper, and maybe then share with the others. Yeah, I was very moved many times when I was part of the workshop.
Nice.
Beautiful.
How was it for you, for your own emotions and feelings?
I think beautiful, theme. It was, of course, Valentine's back in the days, right? And the workshop, the theme, and then the concept of love. And I love that you just went beyond, American Valentine's love kind of thing, Nothing against that, but it just inspired me to think of more than just, I love, or being in love and following a romantic comedy with a happy ending. And for me, this was indeed like a moment just to self-reflect and not be judged, because I never thought I'm a writer or I can write a poem or anything. Oh my God, I cannot. And then, but then I think we just created beautiful, warm-up exercises, a few sections, to kind of get familiar with what you hear in your mind or in your heart, and just put on paper. And then slowly building up with a bit of a bigger, piece of writing. So I love that progression, and I love the crowd. It was actually very nice, beautiful, diverse people from all over the world almost.
Yeah, that's also what I love.
Oh, yeah, it's impressive. So it's very, very nice. And I think the introduction, what you said at the beginning, like those first 15 minutes, what it's all about, just to set expectations, and it's all about being yourself, and so that your pen and your piece of paper just become your friend, or your friend who just wants to listen to whatever you have to say, and it just stays there. And you can still read it back later on and just connect to what you felt at this particular moment.
Exactly. I think you said it perfectly.
Oh, thank you. Super. So then I just move on. Yeah, we touched a bit about authenticity, we touched the emotions and feelings, and of course we talked also a little bit about your project. And you mentioned at the beginning that it was first your friends and your families, and via. And how was the journey, to arrive to where you are right now? Like, were there any struggles? I'm not talking about cliche struggles that you're doubting or this and this, but is there something that happened or did not happen, according to your expectations, or something happened unexpectedly, within you or overall? Anything that you like to share?
I think that, I am the kind of person who feels super excited about new projects and ideas. I mean, one of those people who wish they had like 48 hours instead of 24. So I'm always like, especially when I have to launch something or I have to launch a new workshop, or I'm working on the presentation and the exercises, I'm like over the moon. I'm like, yes, I'm going to do this and it's going to be awesome. And then, of course, comes the day where you actually have to do that. 10 minutes earlier, I always have this kind of, again, anxiety, that, just triggers and is triggered by anything, mostly by my imposter syndrome, saying like, oh my God, it's going to be shit. You're going to have some technical issues now. Someone, I don't know, would just pop in and say something that, you don't know how to answer or to reply to, or I don't know, like hundreds and hundreds of negative thoughts just like 10 minutes before starting the workshop. So I really have to, and that's something that I always do, try to, of course, take some very deep breaths or do like a little meditation or do some free writing myself to make sure that I am there for the people in, the best way possible, to show up for them in the best way possible. And also I really have to remind myself often, the goal that initially that I had for these workshops, but not only, but also to try to see it, because sometimes, we are so like ego really gets in the way. And then you think about yourself, how you are going to, like go through this experience based on your perception. But then if you think about the audience and if you think about each single person who is going through the presentation, who's doing the exercises, then, you have all of a sudden 50, 80, I don't know how many, depends, stories, human beings with different stories, and they will all, share it or live it from their own perspective. So if you, try to make this shift and to not see it from your perspective, but from the perspective of the attendees or the participants, then all of a sudden, there is no anxiety anymore. So I would say this is always, the constant battle that I have with myself right before a workshop. But then eventually when I go through, this way of, finding writing or meditation or yoga as a tool to go through that, then it's perfectly fine. But it's just, something that keeps reoccurring. So, now I'm at that point where I'm like, oh my God, here you go again. But now I know what to do with it.
Awesome. But can you say that she kind of became friends, or you had to suck up to embrace it now because she having anxiety, just always there no matter what? Or you just come with more compassion to yourself, like, okay, lad, don't worry. You know what to do it now. Let's just go step by step. So how was your internal dialogue?
Yeah. My internal dialogue is usually that so when I see anxiety approaching, I think to myself, here she is again. I don't know why. I feel like, it's a woman and it's a part like of all the women that inhabit or reside within me. But to her, what I say, actually, I don't say much. I just feel like I have to cuddle her and say, like, it's going to be fine, no worries. Why are you so worried? And this is something that I learned from one of my muses, one of my inspiring women, Elizabeth Gilbert. So she always, teaches about that, about all the different emotions that live within us, such as fear, such as love, such as enchantment, and all these beautiful emotions that we have. And also to fear, what she usually suggests is to basically write a letter to her or to him, saying like, it's going to be fine, or maybe to have a letter written from fear itself to you, so that you also see it as, so you also kind of share or can share empathy towards fear and say like, okay, it's fine, I know that you are worried because of this and that, but let's try to make it this way, let's try to see it from a different perspective, or to just remind it that it's going to be fine. Again, all this, easier said than done, but it's something that I think the more you do it as an exercise as well, and the more at ease you become also with difficult emotions, or your anxiety, or all these little demons that maybe they can be cute demons as well, and not necessarily as we would imagine or picture them, like in horror movies, or so they're like, okay, here you are again.
So I think it's indeed not about suppressing, but just welcoming them.
Yeah.
So then they just want to be heard, right? They just want to give you some message, and then just to connect with you.
Yeah.
In some sort of way. Yeah. And then Ilaria, maybe for you, I just had a question right now for myself, and then maybe also for you. How is it not like, what maybe do you do, or maybe you don't have this situation where, are you afraid of being afraid? Or do you let the fear come through to you at any moment, or how is your relationship with fear overall?
Oh, wow. I never thought of that, actually. So I don't know if that means that I'm not afraid of being afraid, or simply I never thought about it. But yeah, I mean, fear is such an interesting feeling, right? As I said before, it's... the first impression that you get is that, of course, it's like fear, and it's something like negative, and it's no good, and it doesn't serve you. But I mean, it's something that it's in our DNA for a reason, right? I mean, our ancestors, they needed fear so that they could foresee any obstacles or any dangers around them. Yeah. So I think we should, again, as you were also saying, embrace it and try to make peace with the fact that it's part of ourselves. We cannot not fear something. I mean, it's there, and I think that the trick is not to not have fear, but to have fear and do something anyway, right? So that's what they say, like, courageous people are not someone who are fearless. I mean, there's no such a thing. I mean, either you are probably a psychopath if you are completely fearless, right? But I think that if you have it and then you keep going no matter what, then, that's, I think that the biggest accomplishment that you could imagine for fear and for yourself to have, it's like the healthy relationship that you should have with fear. So not to say like, no, I don't want you in my life, but to just say, okay, you know what? Take my hand. Let's do it anyway. And let's, it's maybe like a leap of faith, and you feel like you have to jump out of the cliff or something. But then comes also the adrenaline, right? So fear can become adrenaline. I think of myself, when I'm on stage. I mean, not so much in the last few years, but I also sing. So when I go on stage and I have to sing a song, for instance, again, like same that I have with my workshops. So I feel like, oh my God, I'm going to totally fail this. I'm going to forget my words. But then, like, maybe it takes, the first 30 seconds of a song to really experience that process of, like, for fear to become adrenaline. And that's when you can feel the adrenaline rush that your body is experiencing. And that's what gives you power. So I think that fear can also be seen as, as like the opening door to adrenaline and to excitement. That's also what they say when you're, for instance, like I have a fear of flying. So when I'm on a plane, I remember that someone once told me, like, instead of of keep repeating to yourself, like, oh my God, I'm scared. Just like try to shift and to see it from a different perspective and think to yourself, oh my God, how exciting that I'm flying, I'm on an airplane and I can see the world from this perspective. Because that's what they say, that fear and excitement are basically made of the same, now I don't know the exact word, but like I would say chemistry or the same chemicals or the same. So it's not that different. So it's all about trying to turn it into adrenaline and excitement.
Yeah. Oh wow, I love it. This is a beautiful way to approach fear and try to be excited. Anyways, now just came to my mind like, why do I always go to roller coasters? I'm
exactly.
I'm feeling from fear, but in the end, like, oh my God, no, it's so fucking awesome anyway. So then the fear, and then there's no point of return. You're already in the car, it's already close, and you just have to go with the speedy roller coasters. And like, okay, yes, I feel like I'm alive.
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
The excitement, the fear, you just really feel like that you are really living.
Yes, I have to say that, I also have to admit, actually, that, when I was maybe in my early 20s, I would have more of this, kind of experiences like roller coasters or horror movies. And I would just like kind of feel attracted to it. Now I have to say that, since I already have fear in other occasions, and I'm like, maybe I don't per se like really need a roller coaster or a horror movie. I can live without that. But I totally feel where you're coming from.
Yeah, super cool. And then, so then maybe just slowly coming towards the end, there's a few some areas that I want to touch upon towards the end of our lovely talk. So we talked about authenticity, emotions, feelings, different, becoming friends, embracing them, etc. So then maybe let's just try to connect, or maybe see. I'm curious how you would connect for yourself everything what we've talked about with the regards of leadership, and actually what leadership means to you per se. Like, how do you approach leadership? Do you think you are a leader, or in what situations are you a leader? Just tell me something and then let's move on from there.
Yeah. So I the first thing that I want to say, I think, is the title of this podcast is spot on, because it's Lead and Feel. And it's something that, I personally believe they could and should coexist. It's something like, for instance, when I think about being productive and relaxed at the same time, when I say that, because that's what I truly believe in, that's my ultimate goal, to be productive and relaxed at the same time. So when I say that, people are always like, oh, is that even possible? So I feel like Lead and Feel, probably, maybe I'm wrong, but probably has the same, impact or first impression, I don't know, on people, that they think, oh, it's not possible to lead and feel at the same time. But I do see that empathy and vulnerability is more and more on the agenda of also, small and big organizations these days, which is something that I'm really happy about. I think that the trick is to really ensure if it's, authentic empathy and vulnerability as part of the leadership, and not just something that you include in your agenda because, I don't know, it's cool nowadays, to show others that you're vulnerable. I mean, and I think that other empaths or, high sensitive people, they can feel it, if someone is faking it or not. So I think that in general, organizations should be really careful with that and only embrace it if they truly believe in it. And as for me, when it comes to leadership, that's a very good question, because I always, if we go back, I think it's a good ending point, because if we go back to where we started, so talking about when I was a kid or a teenager, I always felt that I was born a follower, but like deep down, I knew that I was a leader, but I would, again, keep it to myself. I think, but I don't know if you agree with me, Maggie, I don't know, maybe it's something provocative, but I think that actually everyone is a born leader. And of course, then we kind of lose it or keep it along the way, right? So if you think about children, for instance, I don't know, just the fact that they inspire the best, like in each other, or they, they are also embracing creativity and vulnerability, and still we are fascinated by the way they, perceive the world around them. I mean, that makes them, in my opinion, mini leaders of our society. Yeah. So then I'm like, maybe actually, like, we are all leaders, but then, it's up to us if we want to pursue that road along the way, and if we want to nurture that part of us along the way, or if we, maybe we don't like it and we prefer to be more like behind the scenes, for instance. Again, as for me, I feel like both in my work as a copywriter and working for a music agency, but also for my free writing workshops, I try to embrace, again, the heart-centered leadership, the mindful leadership. So I always try to, and again, sometimes I might be wrong, sometimes I might be right, but I always try my best to make sure that the other person feels in a safe space, so that he or she can tell me anything. And I always try to bring also at work my authentic self now. And if I feel like crying at work, I would cry, and I would not say that I'm sorry for that. Yes. And we are freaking human beings. We have emotions. So I don't know. I cannot. Personally, I cannot, compartmentalize my emotions. So if, I am at work, of course, I'm going to be my best professional self. But at the same time, if there is something that is really, really, really bothering me, or that it goes against my values, I would now, maybe I wouldn't do it like years ago, but now I would stand up and say, like, I don't agree with this because this, and that. Or that thing that you told me made me feel like this. So I would just say it. And I also encourage other people to do the same, because I don't know, I think that that's the best case scenario, right, for all of us. It's a win-win situation for everyone. If we are open and honest, we can also be more productive this way, so we don't go around in circles, but at the same time we make sure that we have empathy towards each other. So, we are not like direct and just say whatever we feel about something or about someone, but we try to find a compromise. So still being authentic, but at the same time also making sure that empathy leads the conversation, that you also try to see how the other person might feel about a certain situation, or anything that could happen, at work, for instance. And the last thing that I wanted to mention maybe is that, and I know that it might sound cliche for some maybe, but I think that being a leader for ourselves is something, that we should all embrace a little bit more. And again, maybe some people are capable of being leaders of others without being leaders of themselves. But I think that if you don't try to embrace or fix maybe here and there some little things about yourself, or to nurture some other parts of yourself and really make decisions for yourself, then how can you make decisions for others? So I think that it's, there is a correlation between like where you are as a self-leader and where you are as a leader for other people. And that they should be, take hands and walk the same path together. So
yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more, right? I think you as a person overall, right? You have to, like for me, leadership is like taking ownership of whatever, right? Your life, your project, your people that you're responsible for, your family, you name it, right?
Yeah.
I think I love the leadership, that it can be such a big broad term depending on how you want to approach it. But in the end, it's indeed taking the leadership attitude or mindset that you just do your work, you commit to do your work internally. And hopefully if you want to take responsibility for others, then you also embrace what it brings it as well.
Yeah.
So either indeed some homework to do inside of you, some self-development, admitting to mistakes, or you name it. But yeah, I think if we all want to be leaders in some sort of areas in our lives, it doesn't come so smooth or easy. It doesn't come as a given thing on your silver platter, or at least I don't know anyone who just does everything so naturally and at ease. But I think it also comes with a price, but also with a reward at the same time. So I think it's worth it, but maybe not for everyone. Not everyone wants to take responsibility, right? All the time.
True.
Sometimes maybe you just want to follow, or maybe someone else is way better in leading certain things. So then why not?
Yeah, and also maybe to remember that, of course, we can be leaders in certain fields or areas and be followers in others, so that one doesn't exclude the other. I mean, there are, maybe at work you're a leader, and then, I don't know, in other fields or areas of your life, you're more like, okay, I will just stay a little bit more behind the scenes. So, yeah, and also just because I'm a sucker for words, the fact that it ends with, leadership, like it should always be a reminder that it's a relationship also when it comes to leadership. And I don't know, like I feel that sometimes some leaders, again, I'm not generalizing, but they are really forgetful about that. They forget about the fact that if you're a leader, it doesn't mean that you are, that there is of course, there is some hierarchy maybe, but it doesn't make you, like the boss or of other people's thoughts. It would be, I personally think, more productive to just like share what you think with others, and to also be always like open to listen to what other people have to say, so that it's a constant exchange of feedback. And of course, then maybe it's up to you to give direction, but then I would always suggest to or that's at least what I do, to always give other people space to also say what they feel.
The difference between directing or dictating.
Exactly.
So, yeah. All right, super. I think that's a beautiful closure, I would say. Maybe just to finish off, is there anything you would like still to share? Is there something that is still in your heart, like pretty present, that you think will be for you, that would give you satisfaction, or your heart a satisfaction, maybe how you're feeling right now? Or is there anything else you would like to tell us?
Oh my God. I don't know. Just maybe, again, because I mentioned words, maybe for people and for leaders, but for people in general, to really pay attention, a little bit more attention to the words that we use. Because sometimes I feel that nowadays, words kind of, I don't know, they can be disregarded by many. And I think that, not only when it comes to leadership, but when it comes, especially to empathy, I think that we should go back to pay a little bit more attention to the words that we use in the relationships that we have with others. Because I personally think that there is always another way to say something, even if it's, the most negative thing that you have to say, but there is always a kind and compassionate way to say them. So maybe just a reminder.
They can carry a big load, right?
Definitely.
Damage or leave a hurtful feeling to someone if you are not mindful about how you want to your message across. Oh, beautiful ending, so-called punchline. And then, Ila, just two last questions, very quick ones. One is, I just always love inspirations, even for myself, for books or anything that gives you inspiration that you maybe read recently. Is there anything that you would like us to read, or you would like to recommend?
So I'm going to give you three, and it's one that I...
Sorry to write.
No, probably you know them already, I don't know. But like one that I read in the past, that it's kind of like, it has become my Bible. And again, I have to mention Elizabeth Gilbert, and it's called Big Magic. And it's a book about creativity, about ideas, about how to embrace our creative self. Because, similar to what we were saying before, she also, she thinks that each and every one of us is creative. So, that, sometimes you have people who say, oh, I'm not creative at all, or, oh my God, I feel like I don't have any creativity in me. But she's basically basically saying the same, and she's really guiding you and taking you on this journey to discover or rediscover your creativity. And the second one is a book that I recently finished, and it's called Untamed by Doyle. And it's really, I mean, you would think that it's about women for women, but I think it's for everyone. But to really try to be, she said that we should be cheetahs, you know, we should be wild and we shouldn't feel caged. So she is basically, in each chapter, she recalls one of her, experiences, and it's around a certain topic. But basically, she mentions all the times that she felt caged, and how she kind of, found a way out of the cage herself. And I don't know, there are so many, I don't know if you are the same, but like every time that I read a book, I always try to jot down all the phrases and sentences that really resonated with me. And I usually have my book in front of me, and then I have the notes app on my phone so that I can just type them there. And for this book, I shit you not, it's never ending. It's I wrote, yeah, exactly. So, but just to let you know how much that resonated with me. Yeah. Yeah. And the third one is a book that I started recently, and it's more about productivity, and it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I don't know if you read it, or maybe.
I finished it last week.
Yes, I did it. Nice. How was it for you?
I really liked it. I'm always a little bit skeptical about those productivity books. Oh my God,
yeah.
Another book, to get you more efficient or more effective, etc. So but then because I believe that books come to you for a reason, and this book also came to me from a friend at that particular moment in time of my life, and and I read it and I really loved it. I really liked it. It's I rarely remember many things from the book after some time, but with this book, I really did remember quite a few things that I could actually apply immediately. And I just love this down-to-earth approach to, if you really want to change something in your life, the habit creation or how you structure your day or your life. It doesn't have to be big. And I loved it, the small incremental changes, tangible guys here and there, and already makes a difference. Just, 1% every day, he called it.
Exactly.
So I love it,
Oh, nice. I'm almost halfway.
So perfect. Super. Then let's talk again when you're
yes, will do.
Super. Yes, I think that we've come to the end. Super, super nice, Ilaria. For me, the time flew, and I can't believe it's over. So maybe just for a quick, closure, where can our listeners find you online, connect with you online? Yes. Where can we find you again, or have a look at you? Yeah,
so I am currently working on my website. So I would have loved to share my website link, but it's not ready yet. So I would say that the best way to find me currently is via Instagram. So you can find me as @IamJardi. So the spelling would be IamJardi. And just send me a message, or just follow me, or just subscribe to sign up for my upcoming workshops, and you can do that via the link in my bio. So anyone is welcome.
Super. I will leave your Instagram link anyways in our description of the podcast. So it'll be great. Anyways, perfect. Thank you so much one more time. I feel very much alive and very much excited and inspired. So just reflect a little bit here and there. So I hope you feel the same, or I hope our listeners also got something out of it, maybe to share or have a nice conversation with their beloved ones or housemates, how they think about those things that we discussed.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. Thank you for being such a great host.
Lovely, super. My pleasure, and my honor. Thank you very much.
Bye.